Hi friends, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to take you on a couple days of my life in fall and show you some things that I love to do, some fall books that I've been reading, and I just kind of want to get into the spirit of everything here in Chicago. I feel like fall in Chicago is the absolute best time of the year. It's gorgeous in the city. The sunsets I think are better for some reason, and there's just so many cool events and things that the city does with museums and the libraries here. It's just, I absolutely love this time of year. But first things first, I am going to officially change my hair. Now, I used to regularly dye my hair different colors and change it up probably every couple of months or so. And then my hair got brutally damaged, and then COVID happened. So I have not been to a hair salon in 3+ years now. My hair, I think, is finally healing. I did a big chop by myself. I cut my hair by myself, which was very nerve-wracking. But today's the day that I finally go back to the hair salon and do something fun with my hair. So the plan is to do a subtle split dye with my curly hair because I still want to wear it in curls. And I want to do just kind of a darker brown because my hair is kind of like an in-between. It's not quite like bright light brown, but it isn't a dark brown either. So I'm gonna go a little bit darker with a fun bright white, potentially split dye. So it might be a little reminiscent of Corella, but I am very excited about it. So yeah, let's go in the car and go change my hair. I'm so nervous. All right, let's go. Hello. Hello. All right. Here it is. I am so happy with how this turned out. 5 hours later, here we are. Here's the color. I asked her to straighten it just because I don't see my hair straightened very often as a curly haired girl. And you can tell already that the curl is already wanting to come back. It's really difficult to keep my hair straight. But it's really fun to see the length and see how it kind of looks this way. Again, I did that split dye and I'm really excited to see how it does look with my curly hair. I think it'll work really well and it'll be so fun. But yeah, so here kind of it is. It's very subtle, except for the front is pretty drastic, but I really love it. I feel like it's perfect for fall and it just makes me feel like me again. I, again, have not dyed my hair in a really long time, but I love it. It's so fun and I just feel more expressive and honestly cooler with my hair dyed. So very happy about it. But I think I'm gonna spend the rest of the day and evening, because it is getting later, reading the Southern Book Club's Guide to Reading Vampires. I actually started this a little bit ago and I'm reaching the end. So I'm gonna try to finish it today and I will see you guys tomorrow. Good morning, it is the next day, and I did end up finishing the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I do have two things to say before I get into like the nitty-gritty of what I thought about this book. And one, I ended up switching to the audiobook version of this halfway through because I could not focus on reading. I don't know if it was the book's fault or if it was just me not being able to like sit still and focus. But my library ended up having the audiobook copy, and so I ended up listening to that, and I really, really loved the narrator that was chosen for the copy that I got, so I'll put her name up here. It was really, really great, so I guess take everything that I'm going to say with a little bit of a grain of salt. Like, I changed mediums halfway through. However, I did enjoy this book, and I also simultaneously had problems with this book, so let's get into it. This book follows the main character, Patricia. She's a mom in Charleston, and she has a group of friends that she goes to a like true crime book club with, that she'll read spooky books with and just has a good time. She also has two kids that she's trying to take care of, but they're getting into a teenage age, so she's having a hard time with that. She also has a difficult relationship with her husband, but she, again, feels like it's just a busy time, and so there's a lot going on. And then a strange man moves into a vacant home down the street, and strange things start to happen, specifically to Patricia. Now, this man, John Harris, is really, really great for his community just in this section of Charleston. People really love him, but again, there's strange things going on with that, and I will let you infer the rest or let you read the rest. There's lots of things that this book is trying to tackle, namely a lot of like ageism. Why do we hate getting old? Why do we like view elderly people as less than? There's lots of that. Lots of talk with what the patriarchy does to women, specifically mothers. There's also a lot of discussion about racism, especially in Southern communities, and this book is trying to tackle a lot with this idea of vampirism, which is really cool, and I really appreciated like the whole take. It was very, very interesting to me. However, I do think there were things that could have been better executed. There were like a few moments where I felt just like, I don't know if that was like the best way that could have been addressed. And I don't want to get into like specifics here because it gets into big spoiler territory, but it just rubbed me the wrong way. I will say there was full moments where I was like walking and listening to this with my mouth just agape, like, what is happening? I probably looked so insane to people, but it was just insane what was going on at the like third act of this book. It completely kept me hooked. I was like, oh my gosh, are they gonna like make this work? What's going on? How is this gonna happen? It kept me on the edge of my seat the entire third act of this book. That being said, I'm giving this book 3 stars, and I do feel like it's a very wonderful book to start off like spooky season with. It's a very easy thriller to like ease into the fall season, and also, kind of like I was saying in a previous video, it takes place simultaneously in summer and fall. There's time jumps and stuff, and so I feel like it's a perfect transitionary book between the 2 seasons, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I also highly recommend reading this through the audiobook because that's how I enjoyed it the most. So there's that as well. I also wanted to show off how my hair looked curly. I really, really am enjoying just how fun it is and how different it is. It makes me feel ready for the season and for the fall, just vibes in general. So very happy about how my hair turned out with my natural look as well. So again, I'm just gonna have to thank the stylist. I will link her down below, and of course the salon. Twisted Scissors was so amazing. But yeah, I am probably gonna spend the rest of the day just catching up, doing some cleaning. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done around the house that I need to do. But yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow. I have some fun plans. So yeah. Good morning. Today I wanted to take you on this little adventure. We are going to Printers Row in Chicago, and I don't know that much about it, but I do know there's lots and lots of used books available for sale. And there's also a lot of authors that are speaking, a lot of expositions that are book related, and it kind of marks the beginning of like fall related festivals here in Chicago. So we're gonna head to Printers Row, check it out, see what it's all about. I'm very, very excited for it. So yeah, let's go.
There is a life I lead in this city, hurrying to cup my tea. I can take what I need to get by. It doesn't make it easy. The other piece of my heart moves slow, somewhere in the great unknown. When I return from the afterglow, will you carry me like I am whole again? Wait, hold on, put me together, take me back where I belong. I want it all. I had a feeling, but the feeling is all gone. Wait, hold on, put me together, take me back where I belong. I want it all. I had a feeling, but the feeling is all gone.
All right, we are officially back from the Lit Fest, or the Printers Row Lit Fest, and it was so much fun. I definitely was a little overwhelmed at first. There was quite a bit of people there, but eventually it was just nice to start talking to authors and other just big book nerds. It was really, really fun to look at old books and new books and all of the different like independent bookstores that had little setups there. We also were able to see a couple panels with some authors, and my absolute favorite was the discussion on book banning, which I believe, and I feel like most people believe, is absolutely horrendous, and it's really just attacking the LGBTQ community. But it was really amazing to hear from authors who had their books banned, why they were banned, and why that's really scary for a lot of people. And also it was really cool to talk about how Illinois has been the first state to basically outlaw book banning, which is really, really amazing. But again, there's a lot of work to do on that. So if you really want to help your community stop book banning wherever you might be, one of the main pieces of advice that was given was to pay attention to school board meetings and make sure you're voting for people who are against book banning. And also paying attention to library elections as well, to make sure the librarians and the people that are choosing books for libraries are people that would support not book banning. The other thing as well that was really informative was to pay attention to the Mothers of Liberty. They've been kind of at the forefront of book banning, and sometimes people that are going up for school board elections will be active in the Mothers for Liberty institution, and they are all for book banning, so make sure that you vote against those people, because banning books is not great. It is not a good practice. We should not do it, and it really hurts the marginalized students and communities more than anyone else. So do not ban books. Either way, it was a really, really fun time. I do want to show just some things that I got from this fest. Talked to a lot of people. This little group I was able to talk to was the host of the Get Lit podcast. It's everywhere that you can find podcasts. They were super, super nice. We were able to answer a few questions, do a little bit of literary trivia, and they talk about literary history and classics, and they mainly focus on dead authors, and they just kind of go through what each of those books mean, and it's a really fun podcast. So I definitely recommend checking them out. They were very, very fun and great people to just have a conversation with. So yeah. One of the last things we did was go to the Sandmeyer's bookstore. It was actually on Printers Row, and it's been there since 1982, which is wild to me. But again, a really awesome independent bookstore, so we had to buy a book there, and I got Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. I have seen this book absolutely everywhere. It got completely viral, mainly because of the art that is in this book. It looks so beautiful. They also have art on the back as well, but just absolutely gorgeous. And I don't know that much about it, which is pretty usual when it comes to me buying books. I'm like, oh, that looks nice, I'm gonna buy it. But it's supposed to be really interesting, and I've read Olivia Blake before in the Atlas 6. I read that, so I'm excited to see what she does in this one. But yeah, that was our time at the Lit Fest. It was such a fun time, just an absolute blast. I think I'm gonna spend the rest of the evening reading The Haunting of Alejandra. It's a literary horror, and it is talking about a woman who is haunted by the demon La Llorona. La Llorona. I cannot talk anymore, guys. But she is haunted by this demon, and like generations of her family have been haunted by this demon, and she's trying to basically break free from this haunting and save herself and her children and future generations. It sounds very, very exciting. I'm excited to read it and see what it's all about. So yeah, let's get reading. All right, it is the next day, and I have finished The Haunting of Alejandra, and I have a lot to say about this book. Lots of good, some bad. We're gonna get into it. Like I was saying yesterday, it is about Alejandra and her battle with this demon that's been haunting her family for generations in a way to free herself from this like emotional torment that she's felt her whole life, to free her children, to protect her children. And it's really, really cool. I love the concept and the way this book handled generational trauma and how it brought all of the women that experienced this trauma together in a really beautiful moment at the end of this book. The ending of this book, it is so good. The final like climactic point is just, it's incredible. It's horrifying because it is still a thriller, but it's so moving to just see all these women use all of their power to just say, no, we're not doing this anymore. Like, we are done. And I really, really enjoyed that. That being said, I do think there's a lot in this book that could have been handled better. And I think one of the main things that threw me with this book was that the demon addresses the audience. I think Jordan Peele actually says this perfectly in an interview of one of his most recent horror movies. And I'm not sure the exact quote, but basically he was saying that the monster isn't the scary part necessarily. It's the tension to seeing that monster, of the unknown, of I'm not sure what that's going to be like. I have no clue. It's just like the feeling of unknown. That's the most terrifying thing in thrillers. I don't know what's gonna happen next. And this is very much a thriller, and it very much has those aspects. I just was thrown off when the monster would directly address the reader and their inner monologue was written down, because I think it took away from the story of the woman in this book. I don't need to know what the monster is thinking to know that it's terrifying to these women and they need to kill it. you know? Like, that was like the thing that really weirded me out about it, and I almost wanted to just skip over it because I felt like it was ruining the book for me. And again, I think it just goes back to, it completely took away the like feeling of the unknown to me to add in those sections. You can have the monster talking, you can have the monster like appear and you can describe it, but having the monster's perspective, having the demon's perspective, took away the fear for me of these women. And I just don't think that's right. These women have a right to be fearful of this thing, you know? Like, it has terrorized them for generations. Like, they have every right to be scared of it. And so it kind of led to this disconnect between me as the reader and the woman in this book, because I was not scared of the monster. I was just like, this monster's a joke. It's kind of funny to me, which is just unfortunate. It took away from it. The other thing that I will say is that I do think this book would work better as a screenplay or like a TV show, like of a limited series. It would have worked so much better. And let me explain why. I read a lot of books that do exactly what this book did, and where they jump back and forth between past perspectives of family members and the current perspective of the family member that's like the main character. And a book that like comes top of mind is Wayward has done this, where it flips back and forth between different family members, and they're all kind of uncovering this mystery, this trauma, and eventually it kind of all coincides into a bigger story. And I felt like a lot of the jumps back into the past, where they are interesting, don't fully connect back to the main narrative enough to like really have a cohesive flow, which is again super unfortunate because I've seen it work very, very well. Most of the time, the only connecting piece to these women is like a mention of their name, or like, oh yeah, this was my mom, I never knew her, I don't talk about her. Or, oh yeah, that was your great aunt or your great grandma. We only have this one piece of information about there, which is very true. That's realistic, 100%. However, when you jump back to that perspective after only giving like, this is the only thing these characters know about this woman, and then giving the reader this full story, and then you jump back to the characters not knowing anything about this woman, it felt choppy in the narrative, which is again just unfortunate. And I feel like there's ways that I've read before to connect those women in just a little more concrete ways that isn't as jarring as what this book did. However, which brings me back to the screenplay thing, if this was a TV show, if this was written as a TV show, these like flashbacks would fit so well and they'd make sense and they wouldn't be jarring, because that's just how TV shows work. And so I'm like, maybe I just ruined myself because I've read books like this before. And this is just how it works. I'm not sure, but I feel like if I watched this as a TV show and I didn't have the perspective of the monster talking in my ear and it was just watching this unfold, it would have been so much more impactful and so much more terrifying, and the message would have almost been clearer to me than what this book has currently. So that's all of my thoughts on the thing. I really enjoyed this book. There was just a few problems that I just like couldn't get past. And so for that reason, I'm also gonna give this book a 3, but I highly recommend reading it, especially if you are into literary horror, if you want to kind of jump into that genre of book that has something more to say with the story than just a scary monster or just like a mystery. This is a great book to start with, and I really enjoyed, again, the ending was so amazing and almost made me start crying. It was very, very impactful. There was just a lot of things that didn't quite work for me. But yeah, that is going to be it for today's video, and thank you so much for kind of spending a week with me, a week of fall life in Chicago. We didn't do as much as I originally wanted to do, but life happens. But either way, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next week. Bye!